Well, we have been lucky enough to just pass our 10-year birthday as our music school, Good Time Music Academy. Now, of course, before starting the music school, I did teach for many years on my own before that. But as a music school, from that moment of saying, all right, I want to do something bigger than myself and create a business and, set myself up for life, it's been 10 years. So we've just had our big 10-year concerts. We did 4 2-hour shows. Had thousands of people come through the venue across the day, 4 massive big cakes, and it was absolutely incredible. And the question I got from a few different people was, what would you do differently if you had to start all over again? So knowing what I know after that massive 10-year journey, going from 0 to a couple thousand students, what would I do differently? And there would be a lot of things. The first one, not to just plug my own program, but if it existed, I would have joined the BAM squad and achieved what I had achieved in 10 years and probably 4. But given that it didn't exist, what would be something practical that I could pass on to other people like yourself? Well, I could give you so many things, but the number one thing that I would have done is I would have started group classes way earlier, just way earlier. And so, of course, in our program, I show everyone how we do that and how we, how you go from just one-on-one lessons into figuring out groups and keeping people happy with the change and, training your team to be able to do that well and all that sort of stuff. But the reason that you want to do it is that a lot of people start teaching one-on-one lessons because that's what they went to. That's what they see everyone else doing. But you got to remember that not everyone is savvy, like business-wise, if they're a musician. Most musicians are not savvy. They don't know what they're doing. Half of them just take cash and don't pay their tax, I know that's a bit judgmental, but a lot of people, they just don't know how to run a business. They're creative, they love music, they like hanging out with young people and teaching, and they do a great job with that. But business-wise, they wouldn't have the foggiest clue what to do. They probably couldn't even read a P&L statement or a balance sheet, or they probably don't even have an actual strategic plan written down. And with group classes, you actually get a much higher hourly rate in terms of your profit. And there's so many extra things that go with it that are so important in terms of, well, if you're running a group class and if a child can't make it, well, you can't offer a catch-up because it's a group class. And so the fees are a bit lower to accommodate for those sorts of terms and conditions. But for you, well, great, those students, have a one less student in the class, so they get a bit more attention. You don't lose the money, you don't have to reschedule a catch-up. And you go from, making whatever amount it might be on a lesson, $10, $20, to sometimes making, it depends what country you're in, but usually 3, 4, 5, 6 times that amount. And you can still create really amazing lessons, build that community, and have something that people love to turn up for. And of course, if you have more margin, well, then you have more money to play with. And that doesn't mean that you take all that money and go take fancy holidays or blow it on a fancy car. No, you take that money and you reinvest it into your business, into yourself and what you're trying to achieve. And if you've got more money, well, you can reinvest more. And then those investments pay back and bring back more. And on it goes. And so that would be the key thing. If you're not doing group lessons, that's the number one thing that I would do differently. I would have jumped to that a lot sooner. I would have figured out the smartest way to do that. And of course, in our BAM squad, we walk you through that. But that's the way that you really are going to propel things, grow a lot more, have more money to play with, have a lot less stress, and that's going to help you a lot. It doesn't mean that you have to scrap one-on-one lessons, but it's definitely something you want to work towards having the group option as well. So there we go. That's as I think about those 10 years and that question that I've had from a lot of people, that's the number one thing that I would do, that I could practically give you to start thinking about now. So maybe you can start thinking about, where would you host them? How much do you need to spend on the instruments to make it work? What are the sort of technology things that you need in terms of, if it's piano, well, you want keyboards and headphones. And you think through all those logistical things. You think through the transition with the parents and all that sort of stuff. Or you just join the BAM squad and get everything laid out for you, talk about it with heaps of people that have done it, and hear what was tough for them, what worked well, and short track all those mistakes of trying to figure it out on your own and run the risk of losing a bunch of students over it. So there we go. That's the number one thing. I hope that is helpful for you. I would highly recommend you starting to draw out a bit of a plan and think about how you can start adding that to your music teaching business if you haven't already. So there we go, 10 years, that's what I'd do different. Hope that helps.